Well, huge congrats on this. You're back.
Thank you. I'm back.
You're Timon again.
Whether you like it or not.
It's time. I'll tell you a story. A story of a cub, not much bigger than you.
So just to be clear, we're not in this story?
There's a lot of stories with all of us. Tell one of those.
Long before they became legends, Mufasa and the prince who would come to be known as Scar became brothers.
So how was that for you? Because obviously the first time you're like taking over this character, were you able to kind of like relax a little this time?
This time felt a little easier because Seth Rogen, who plays Pumbaa, and I play Timon, we had done the characters in the 2019 film. And on that film, we worked with the director, Jon Favreau, who directed that movie, on really finding our version of Timon and Pumbaa. These are iconic characters that are beloved from the 1994 version. So that took some time, you know, and I think going into this one, we felt more confident because we had that established already.
Yeah. What are the kind of like notable differences between your version and the 1994?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I think you want to nod to the spirit of the original characters because people want that, but put your own spin on it because you can't just copy it, you know, blatantly. And I think that I would imagine that when Jon Favreau cast us, there was something about my comedic sensibility that had some overlap with Nathan Lane's sensibility, and the same with Seth Rogen and Ernie Sabella, who did the original Pumbaa voice. So I think once we were in there, we just realized, like, okay, we were chosen for a reason. We're going to bring ourselves and our own sensibilities to these roles, but always having in the back of your mind what the original energy and dynamic of the characters was.
Yeah, I guess all that imposter syndrome was probably well gone this time, which is...
Yeah, not as much this time. Yeah.
It's amazing. And you and Seth have such a lovely dynamic together. It must be quite nice. So you guys film it together, is that right?
We do. We record everything together, which is pretty rare for these types of big, epic animated movies. The actors usually record separately over years, but Seth and I did every recording session together, and Barry Jenkins, who directed this movie, Mufasa, really encouraged us to improvise a lot and ad-lib a lot, and a crazy amount of that ended up in the movie.
It's amazing.
I think 90% of what Timon and Pumbaa say in Mufasa was improvised.
So what is the key to good improv then? Like, that's so impressive.
I don't know. Improv ended up being a big part of my life. I do a show called Billy on the Street, and that's all improvised. Seth is a comic actor. He does a lot of improv. We're just very comfortable together, not afraid to be stupid. We just riff, you know? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. We just throw things out there, and there's a lot of freedom in that.
Yeah, because I guess like Billy on the Street's amazing and I love it, but it's not exactly the most like Disney PG kind of thing.
Yeah, no.
So how is it like shifting, even now during press, like shifting your whole kind of comedic sense to fit like a kid's movie?
Yeah, well, they're all characters. I mean, Billy on the Street is a character too. It's a persona, certainly. So he has his natural habitat on a more adult, subversive kind of comedy show, and then you kind of go into Disney mode, you know? It's just, we're actors. So I think that's part of what you do. And it's fun, you know? I like, one thing I always say to Seth is that, you know, in our normal kind of R-rated comedy stuff that we do, there's a lot of cursing and it's very adult. And it's kind of interesting to take those crutches away. You know, to know that you can't curse to like punctuate a joke. You have to still make it work, you know? It's a different type of challenge.
Yeah, it must be kind of just on that because it's like Billy on the Street, but it's your name. So then when you tell people it's a character, there must be a bit.
That's interesting. I mean, I still think people are surprised sometimes to find out that's a character, and I'm always like, do you really think I live my life shouting at people and storming away? I mean, it's a
guilty.
Yeah, I think people want to believe it. I mean, it is real in that it's improvised. None of that show is ever scripted, and the people are real, obviously, but I'm in character improvising, but I used my real name. I know it's confusing, but...
Well, I'll get my head around it, I promise. But obviously this, you can't like see your face in it, so it's kind of like honing a different skill. How do you warm up to do like voice acting?
Well, if you're singing, I do a little vocal warm up before that, but if it's just a regular recording session where we're just talking, I don't really warm up. You know, you kind of warm up by doing it.
Okay.
You know, and then there's always a moment during the session when you're like, oh, okay, all right, I was like stiff and nervous and now I'm good.
Yeah,
you know, like
got you in the
warm
flow.
up.
Yeah.
You warm up.
Yeah. Obviously you were saying about warming up for vocal exercises, but in this one, you don't have any songs. How
I
did that go
know.
down?
Well, Seth and I are very upset with
Yes.
Lin-Manuel Miranda, who wrote all new songs, but nothing for us. We still managed to improvise a little musical moment in there.
Was that improv?
That was completely improvised.
Love.
Hakuna Mufasa.
Yeah.
Yes. Lin would like to take credit for that, but we're not letting him.
No.
So Lin owes us a song in the inevitable Timon and Pumbaa prequel that we demand that Disney make.
We have to talk about this.
Yes.
What's your vision for that? Because I saw you mention it, and I'm on board.
Yeah, we need a Timon and Pumbaa movie. We don't know what's the Timon and Pumbaa origin story. You know, how did they meet? We need at least 7 to 12 songs, you know, describing how they met.
Yeah.
And no, I mean, you know, it would just be fun. But yeah, it would be cool. Like, we don't know. I mean, if you've seen every Lion King, like, direct-to-video movie from the 90s, you know, you have a sense of it.
There's like a 1.5.
Yeah, there's
or
Lion King
something.
1.5, and it's actually really good.
Is it? I haven't
The
seen it
fans
yet.
really like
Okay.
Lion King 1.5. I don't know if the casual fan is aware,
Yeah.
but the diehards know. So we could take some elements of that, but also create our own version,
Yeah.
you know, or maybe we see them get old, aging gracefully in Hollywood.
That
Not
would be
easy
quite
to do.
Sweet, yeah.
But yeah, it has to happen. I think that the people demand it.
And the cast on this is obviously
Mm-hmm.
amazing. Like, you guys are all fab. If you had to do one of your Billy on the Street interviews with one of your fellow cast members, who would you choose?
Beyonce, obviously.
Silly question. But then you'd be so guaranteed that everybody would talk to you then.
That's true.
Like,
Well,
who's
but yeah,
gonna
but I think
agree?
people also might just be stunned because that happens too. Like, they can't. Sometimes we've gone out with like, we did a Billy on the Street with Michelle Obama, and one of the people. We weren't on the street because she's Michelle Obama, Secret Service, you know, so we were
Yeah.
inside. But it was a Billy on the Street segment. But, like, some people thought that we had an impersonator, that it wasn't her, because they're just shocked. You know, so that could happen
And
with
that does
Beyonce.
happen. People do that. They
Yeah, because
impersonate
they
them.
just can't believe the person's there. So that would probably happen with Beyonce, but that
Yeah.
would be fun. I like that.
Very lastly, for $1, what does Hakuna Matata mean?
It means no worries.
Yay!
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank
Lovely to
you.
meet you.
Nice
What
to
a
meet
pleasure.
you.